G'day Bomber fans. So obviously as a club we've been deciding to hit free agency hard in recent years. It's our list management strategy to maximise the trade period without losing draft picks. It worked last year. So today I thought I would list the 10 free agents I would be most interested in us having a go at in 2024. These are all fairly realistic options, not just naming Tim English and Dustin Martin because they are good players. These are options that I can see clubs having a go for, so let's just get into it. We will start off talking about some defenders. We don't really know how our setup will look at the end of the year if Heppel and Kelly and Hind will all still be on board. If we are looking for players to improve that backline even further, Liam Duggan is the clear standout of the list of free agents. He is the current co-captain of a pretty horrid West Coast team, third in their best and fairest though, which I guess isn't that impressive, but it shows how solid he is in that shoddy backline. He is genuinely a really good quality defender though. He would thrive at a Victorian club. I am sure he is at least considering returning back home. West Coast can't be much fun right now, and with Duggan you get leadership, consistency, you get pretty much as reliable a defender as you can find. Isaac Cumming from GWS. There are a couple from GWS here. There is always a good chance this team needs to offload salary because they just have to pay more to keep players on the books, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately for us, though. Cumming is an academy product who has shown a lot recently over there. He has made himself a first-team player thanks to his great disposal usage and his ability to find the ball in defence. He is a rebounding defender who played 75 games for the club. He really broke into that team in 2021. He had played 10 games before then and since has played 65. He was a bit down on form compared to 2022 and 2021, but still an important player in that team nevertheless. One that they probably won't want to get rid of, but probably one they won't prioritise as much as other names. Another defensive option from the same team, Harry Perryman, a bit more well known I'd say. He's hit triple figures for games played. He's been more of a first team staple over the years. He's also a part of that GWS leadership group, so of the two I would say he is the one that they would be after signing first, making him harder to acquire if we wanted, but I also think he is just a better player, more rounded as an option. He has a bit of grunt to him as well. I like him as a player. I doubt a respected academy member wants to leave and is forced out, so if either of the two GWS backmen were to happen, it would probably be Cumming. Still, both are set to stay put, I would say though. Onto some midfield free agents. Most of these players I selected are needs based. McCluggage not as much, but he is a really big name in the market. One we probably made a mistake on not selecting back in the 2016 draft. He is one of the better midfielders in the comp. He was all Australian on the wing before he moved full-time into that engine room. He's a required member of that Brisbane team, but they have so much young talent coming through. There are players I think will eventually be moved on. McCluggage probably won't be one of them. He is too good to be passed over, but just putting context to the name, we overlooked him in 2016. He could easily improve our midfield. He is a much better option than Hobbs or Caldwell for that engine room, so I thought I would include the Victorian here. Now some players I've selected that I think we could fit in for needed roles. Mark O'Connor, he isn't exactly that big-bodied midfielder we need, but he is so versatile. He's played on the wing, in the guts, back in defence. He has shown he can tag a player out of a game. He is a premiership player for Geelong. Good athlete that can play a lot of different roles. The Cats probably will free up salary cap space with some retirements, so they can definitely afford O'Connor, who isn't a star player, but I think most teams would be lucky to have a squad member like him. He just does what's needed. Connor Nash, this is the type of player we're after, I reckon. He is pretty underrated across the comp, not at Hawthorn though. He finished third in their best and fairest. Nash is a huge midfielder, almost 2 meters tall, very strong. Skills-wise, he isn't the greatest. He isn't your Bontempelli type, but he is strong, tough at the contest, a great tackler, only 25, so plenty of time. He also has a great tank on him. I reckon if he was at a better team, he would be talked about more in the same vein as other Irishmen in the league. He became more than just a role player in 2023. I think he is a player we should look at for some extra strength in the engine room. We've lacked players like him for a while. And finally, my favourite of the midfielders, another to help aid a weak midfield, Jarrod Berry. Realistically, this Lions team are going to face salary cap constraints at some point. They are constantly drafting high father-son picks while making moves in the trade period. Eventually, they will need to offload a player or two, and Berry, who is Victorian, is one that could easily garner interest from other teams. He is a versatile midfielder, big-bodied, same size as Setterfield, but a much better player. He has an elite tank, really good attitude, set to play 150 games this year. Mark up that 150th game. He's not playing 150 matches. I wonder if there's going to be room for him in that midfield with Ashcroft coming back and his brother joining the team next year. He could find more midfield midfield minutes at another team. I personally would rather him play in our engine room instead of Setterfield. He has shown way more in his time. No brainer for me if he ever did want to move. And the forwards, Ben Ainsworth, 25, someone who never really hit their full potential. He's played really well at Gold Coast, an important player for them, but you feel like there is another level he can go to eventually with a change of scenery. Their powerful midfielder forward plays a bit like Stringer if I had to compare him to a player, which could be beneficial for us to have a replacement. Stringer is getting a bit older. Ainsworth is Victorian. He's taken at pick 4 in the same draft as McGrath. Top 10 in their best and fairest last 2 years. He is a goal a game, almost 20 touch type player, which is kind of what we expect from Gresham, but I think there is plenty more yet to be seen of Ainsworth, which is why I have him down here. Will Hayward, different player to Ainsworth, more of a natural forward, won't get too much of the ball, but isn't a stranger to it. He's a good goal scorer though. You can back him for 25 to 35 goals a year. He is not a bad option in the air, very smart and capable on a lead. He finds space well. He's really quick on ground level. Originally South Aussie, so a move home is on the cards, many would think. His value is probably going to be hard to gauge because a lot of what he does goes unnoticed, but he is definitely a player that could improve a forward line. And finally, probably the biggest name for us, Cam Zurhaar. We've been linked with him a bunch of times in the past. I'm sure the media will put us in the mix again. He is a power forward that can easily transition into the midfield. We saw that in 2023. He had a few big games as that big-bodied mid. He is such a tough player. Not many as in the comp as feared as him, if you were to see them running headfirst at you, I guess. He can bully smaller players, no mercy vibes, and he's prominent in front of goals. He hasn't gone at under a goal a game average since 2018. Really good output, can easily kick 25 to 30 in a year while playing plenty of midfield minutes as well. I'm sure another poor ladder finish will have him doubting his future over at North, and where better to end up than a club who has already picked up some former teammates and coaches anyway. But that is that. Those are 10 free agents I'd be interested in seeing Essendon go for. There are a couple of other names I find more unrealistic that I didn't include here. Doesn't mean I don't want them, and there are some I just couldn't fit in the video as well, so let me know down below anyway if there are any that you want mentioned, but that is all. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and go Bombers.